when you're not obsessed with what you look like and how you should be, you can actually hear those messages loud and clear. So things like, I hate my job. We know money is made from fat loss promises. We also know that people really, really, really want to stick to the magical thinking that they'll be happy when they finally have abs. And so to tell them, hey, the thing that you want, you don't really want that. You want this other thing that's 1,000 times harder and more painful and scary. And I can offer you that.
Hey, fitness fans, welcome back to the Future of Fitness podcast and interview series. I am your host, Eric Malzone, and this is episode number 45. And I'm talking to Jessi Kneeland. And I have met very few people in my life who are as honest, authentic, and raw as Jessi. And this interview will prove exactly that. Before we get into who she is and what she does, I want you to consider taking some action. So if you are a fitness professional, and you are interested in learning more about digital marketing, science and technology, and all the current advancements that are going on with the industry, as well as Q&A with the experts, go to the Facebook group. It's a closed group called the Modern Fitness Pro. And it's by application. And if you are accepted in, you will be part of a group of 2,000 fitness professionals from all over the world. And starting next week, we're gonna be pumping a ton of great content in there that's essentially dedicated to helping you grow your business and advance the industry as a whole. So it's called the Modern Fitness Pro. Go check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. And let's get on to Jessi. So Jessi is a TEDx speaker. She's an amazing blogger, and she's also a personal coach of sorts. So she was a trainer in New York City, and she was working with a lot of clients, especially females, who were really focused on body image and trying to attain these almost impossible standards. And essentially what she had was a crisis of ethics, and she completely changed. She completely changed gears. It was a very brave thing to do. And now she helps mostly women work on their body image and acceptance of themselves and loving themselves. And it's something that the fitness industry actually needs to take hold of. It's a tough thing to do. We all know in our hearts that's the right thing to do, but she actually did it. So hopefully we're all inspired by what Jessi's doing, and you can go check her out on her website. So let's get into it. This is episode number 45, and her name is Jessi Kneeland. Jessi Kneeland, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
An absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this. The date of the recording is January 25th, and you and I first connected, I think, in December. And you told me all of your story, and I'm really excited to have that be shared with our audience. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about you, talk about your story through fitness, and how you got to where you are today.
Cool. So I landed in personal training very much by accident. I just needed a job, and they needed women to work there. I got certified. I shadowed people. I moved up in the ranks. I moved into a private gym in Manhattan where Peak Performance, where, I was surrounded by some of the best, and I decided that I wanted to be the best. And I really dove into education and fell in love with strength training for women, especially. I saw how empowering it was, how much it was changing people's perception of themselves. But as a personal trainer, even the people who come to you and say, I want to feel empowered and I want to feel confident, they also want to change the way their bodies look. Like, I don't know if that's true everywhere else in the world, but at least in New York City, I don't think I met a single client ever who was like, I'd like to look just like this, but I'd also like to be a little stronger, faster, healthier, energized, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was always this delicate balance that I felt like the thing they wanted to change, it was the wrong focus. That what they wanted was to feel good and to feel, accepting of themselves and to feel happy and to feel lovable and to feel all these things that they were hoping they'd feel when their body looked different. And so since I was working mostly with women at the time, body image stuff started to come up in a really big way. And I realized, I'm training like Victoria's Secret models, and they're still tearing themselves apart. Like, this is not actually about our bodies. And I wanted to hold better conversations and not talk about weight loss. Like, I'd get these women who are, perfectly fit, really healthy, and they would just be obsessed with this one thing. They'd be like, can you help me get rid of this one flaw? Can we hide my cellulite, or can we like just change the shape of my ribs, And it was just all manner of things. And sometimes they were models and their agencies actually sent them to me for those things. And sometimes they were just people who were comparing themselves to models and wishing that they looked different. And it became very clear to me that I wasn't going deep enough. I wasn't getting to the point that we needed to be talking about with fitness. And to continue, it felt like I was enabling people a little bit to stay in the story about how the thing that was wrong with them that was keeping them from being happy with themselves was their belly fat, or, their shape or size or weight. And so I became a life coach. I had Remodel Fitness was my online business at the time. I totally changed branding, got rid of the fitness component, and moved into just body image coaching. But it very much came from that whole line. People have said to me like, wow, you totally changed careers. And I'm like, I guess I did. But for me, it was all the same thing. I was trying to help people, just using the wrong tools before. The intention was the same. The tools were just different.
Yeah, I would say it was more of an evolution, right?
Yes,
The next
that's
step.
what I feel.
The first thing that comes to mind is how does this process work? Like, do clients come to you because of this particular thing? Do you start a conversation with them? And then is it a coaching process? Is it in person? Like, how does it work?
Good question. So none of it's in person except my workshops, which I do travel and do workshops in person, but I live in Syracuse, New York. So like there's, it's all done online. There's nobody here who wants or could afford to work with me. So, it basically through social media or through blog posts, or through articles that I write for other places, people find me and then start getting a sense of what I'm about, which I talk about body image a lot. I mean, I talk about other things too. I share a lot about my story. I share random thoughts. I'm constantly reading, so I'll share thoughts on books I'm reading, things like that. But most of it centers around self-acceptance in whatever form. And that includes, like I have a program called Make Friends with Your Feelings. So like emotional acceptance is part of self-acceptance. It's not all just about your body. In fact, I think people wish it was about their body, and more often than not, we have to go way deeper than that in order to accomplish anything. So if they do coaching with me, if they decide to move into that, then it's all on the phone or Skype, depending on the person. And we just move into like talking about what's really going on underneath the story about their body. So if they're like, okay, I really want to love my this actually happens a lot, is clients will be like, okay, I really want to love my like body, but my butt's too flat and I'm not thin enough. I'm like, okay, great. So like, what does that make you feel? And they'll be like, I feel like it makes it, I'm not thin enough. Or I feel like my butt's too flat. I'm like, okay, those aren't feelings. Those are, you're staying in the same spot. So I help them dig into what's really happening underneath. For example, I feel like I'm unlovable, and I feel like it's my job to be attractive. And those are the things that we start digging deeper and deeper. And that's where we can actually make shifts, where by the end, they're not talking about their bodies, but they're also not thinking about their bodies. So It's not like they suddenly magically, find their bodies super sexy. It's just that we deal with the stuff that's really problematic, that the body anxiety and the body hatred kind of just reflects.
I don't know if your clients achieve like success, or if it's probably just an ongoing process, right? But give me an idea of someone who you consider, a success. What do they feel like after? What's the after effect?
Yeah, so it's tough actually as a business too. It's tough to be like, here's how you'll feel after, because everyone's so different. And it is an ongoing journey. I say it's like peeling back an onion. Like there's always going to be more. It's the process of becoming yourself. You do this forever. However, what different to me looks like, what success to me looks like, is when someone is showing up and following their actual desires and acting on their actual authentic drive and impulse and being who they feel they really are, instead of performing, doing things that is expected of them, hiding and posing and fixing and thinking about what is wrong with them. They're actually just out in the world doing what they want and feeling free and safe to be who they are. Which can be anything from like, I went to this party and I just like wore what I wanted and I started talking to people and they liked me and it was so great. So sometimes these things that don't sound like a big deal are the first time that someone has ever done that.
Yeah.
Because they would have been in the corner thinking about how they looked and how nobody likes them and like, staying stuck. And what they really wanted was to go like dance with people. And so they just went and danced, and that's a huge success. Another would be career changes and things like that happen when you start tuning in to the part of yourself that, like, the wisdom of your body, that some things are for you and some things are not for you. Some things are working and some things aren't. When you're not obsessed with what you look like and how you should be, you can actually hear those messages loud and clear. So things like, I hate my job. I'm not supposed to be doing this job. Those things can come to the surface out of seemingly nowhere when you get rid of the distraction of, like, what do I look like? What do I look like?
Right.
So people make huge shifts in a lot of the coaching stuff. It's like, I've had a lot of people quit their jobs, actually, surprisingly, as well as some relationship shifts that are pretty major too. Like, oh, wow, this was not working, but I've been so focused on what does he think about my butt that I haven't stopped to be like, I don't know that we communicate well enough for me, or whatever, you know?
Wow. That's impressive. I'm curious too. Do you work, I presume you work primarily with women, just from our conversation, but do you ever work with men? I
do sometimes. You know, I'm always surprised by, how many men reach out to me in messages and emails just to thank me for my work, that let me know that it resonates with them. Actually, just now on Instagram, a friend of mine from New York who I haven't talked to in a while, he commented, hey, not to, like, split hairs here, but would it be cool if we said human instead of women in this situation? Because I said, we women are taught to hate ourselves. Yeah. And he's like, we kind of all are, like, aren't we? And he's right. We absolutely are. I use women as part of my branding because that's who I am most familiar with, the obstacles that we face. But men face different obstacles. Non-binary, trans people face different obstacles. But we are all taught to reject parts of ourselves and hide them and feel ashamed of them and just present this other thing that we've all decided is acceptable. So yeah, it's a very human problem, not a female problem.
Yeah, I think men are just more reluctant to acknowledge, and or we're just, we're taught to push it down. I've talked about in previous podcasts about what I call superhero syndrome. Because given my background, like, I was a chubby 10-year-old, right? Mm-hmm. I had to go to swim practice 10 times a week. So I had to squeeze myself into a Speedo. And I read a lot of comic books, right? I read a lot of comic books that paint a picture of who I was.
Sure.
And I was always, God, I wish I looked like that. I wish I looked like the Punisher, right? I wish I looked like that. And I think that early age of, like, okay, this is the perfect male form is, I think there's something there. Just no one talks about it as much. We're just used to kind of pushing it down.
It's so true. And I would say increasingly so, men are being roped into the same standards for beauty that women are. Well, not the same exact standards, but, like a higher level of standard. And I don't know that was so true 20, 30 years ago, but it has been increasingly so. And I expect it'll continue to be increasingly so. I think it kind of started only in, like, the gay community, where they suddenly had to hold themselves to the highest possible aesthetic standard. But I think it's permeating. I mean, partly because it makes people money to be insecure. And so all the marketing out there they're definitely capitalizing and pushing new standards on everyone that they possibly can so that you buy their stuff. But yeah, it's definitely spreading.
That's a damn good point. There's money to be made from people's insecurity. Absolutely.
There sure is. I mean, the beauty industry, the supplements industry, the weight loss industry, it is just massive quantities of money being made off people who don't feel good enough.
We had talked about this previously, but I love how you have a message to the fitness industry about taking a hard stance, right? We had talked about that. Mm-hmm. Essentially, it was like, all like everyone in fitness understands that maybe what we're doing is not for the benefit of the big picture. But it's really hard because it's easier to go down that route versus taking a hard stance and saying, you know what, that 2 inches off your waistline ain't going to change your life. Right.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that message that you have for the fitness industry, because I think it's very powerful.
When I shifted branding, I was very afraid that I was going to fail and not have a business anymore, because despite the fact that I had always had this, like, empower yourself, it's about what you can do, not what you can look like, I also was a fitness business. And people make assumptions about fitness businesses. And my clients would always come to me and say, I want to love myself, but I also want to change this thing. And I would kind of say, sure, let's try and do both. Because that was what I had to do. That was what I thought I had to do. It was my expectation that if I only said, let's not try to change what you look like and only focus on what how you feel about yourself, that nobody would buy anything.
Yeah.
And then I, couldn't do any work. So I stuck with that for a while. And when I shifted, I was like, this could fail. Like, genuinely, people might just stop caring about me and I'll just have to get a job as a barista or something. Like, I don't know where this is going, but it was very scary.
Yeah.
And when it succeeded, I had so many people, friends in the fitness industry, asking me like, hey, how should I, like, I don't want to talk about fat loss anymore because that's not really the problem. And, it just keeps people like obsessed and I think it's bad for them. And how do I stop doing that? And I'm like, I have no advice for you. I just jumped. So maybe if you want to do that,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, it is a terrifying prospect. And we know money is made from fat loss promises.
Yeah.
We know that sculpting and aesthetic transformation sell. And we also know that people really, really, really want to stick to the magical thinking that they'll be happy when they finally have abs. And so to tell them, hey, the thing that you want, you don't really want that. You want this other thing that's 1,000 times harder and more painful and scary. And I can offer you that, and the person's like, no, thanks. I'd rather have abs and I'm going to go to someone who will promise me them.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging. It's, I don't have any advice for how other people should do it. Just that I think it's an important conversation that we should all be having.
Yeah.
About where is your line? Like, are you still selling something that you don't actually feel great about?
Yeah.
If so, consider that and why. And is that doing anybody any good?
Yeah. Well, I think about it, I've always thought about it, especially, when I was running my gym, and it always stuck in my mind, you got to give people what they want until you earn the right to tell them what they need.
Right.
And sometimes it's like, I always thought, am I doing a greater good by letting this person walk down the street to someone who's promising the 6-pack abs? Right. I can tell them, hey, yeah, I can get you there. So let's just start and then maybe see where it goes. Right. Yeah. I don't know. God, it's tough, but I think you're right. Just the discussion has to be, and every mentor I've had on the coaching side, they talk about the same thing. It's like, it's not right, cause they've gone through that pattern. So
it's funny though, because like when I would get the models who would come to me as a trainer, they came through their agencies. Nobody was at their own volition. It was just like agencies would like shove models at me and be like, here's what you need to fix on her. We need to like just lower the measurement of her thighs and keep everything else the same.
Wow.
And I would lie to these people and say, no problem. I got that, even though that is physically impossible and insane and absolutely rude, by the way. And so I would then take this girl and do everything I did with everybody else. Like I would teach her to deadlift and we would get stronger and, her body would reflect changes that usually were fine. That the agency would be like, cool, thanks. Cause they didn't really want what they said they wanted. Nobody has any idea of how things work. And so I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about the fact that like a big portion of my business is made up on lying to people that I can change these girls' bodies. I am changing them, but not how they think that I am. But the end result is like she looked good in photos, so no one cares. I don't know. It was a very strange experience, and I definitely felt conflicted about it because it's not cool. But at the other side of it, like I was getting to help them in a way that I believed was better than how most other people would have helped them. Caloric deficits and I don't even know what, like Pilates, something, so it's an interesting line to travel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you didn't go through that, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now, for sure. You're doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
So let's shift, because I want to talk about the online business. I think, what you've done is we coach a lot of people through this process too, finding out, what's your core competency? Who's the niche that you want to serve? And then just keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper into, what that niche is. And it can be as small as you want, because as soon as you go online, you're global, right? Yeah. You find clients all over the world. Talk about your processes of starting your business online and how that's been. And, if you have any advice for people who want to go that route.
So I started a business online thinking that it would offer me mobility, which it does, and a means to serve a greater number of people, which it does. I did not ever have any interest in running a business by myself or working on a computer all day. And I certainly wasn't interested in sales funnels, marketing, or any of that bullshit. So some days I really hate working online. And I think that I've got to find a way to move back into working with people. I don't know what that would look like, but it's like my workshops actually came out of that same thought. Yeah. I hate working online. So I love writing. I love writing. And so I think what I've kind of done is pretty counterintuitive to what most people would say is good business advice. Because I'm not a good version of myself when I do stuff I hate. So I just basically wrote a lot. I write to my email list, exclusive emails. I do some blog posts still. I'll write articles for other people. And then most of my writing on a daily basis is on social media. And so all of that is stuff that I really enjoy doing. And that's pretty much the only way I've ever grown my business. But I hear, I've like read marketing books that are just, it's like gritting my teeth to get through them. I'm like, don't care about this. I don't want to know about this. I just want to hire someone else to like do everything I don't like. But yeah, I don't recommend it to anybody, honestly. Like unless you love business, you spend a lot of time doing businessy stuff instead of serving people. And so I think for me, it's just been a lot of trial and error and throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Every program I've ever launched, everything I've ever created has just been like let me try this. Now let me try that. And then I have friends who are like, oh, I'm doing this crowdsourcing way of finding out how to solve the problem and get them exactly what they want. And I'm like, I can't do that because what they think they want is not what I do. It's a joke among my business coach friends. They're like, most people see a problem and then solve it. Jessi sees a problem and then tells everyone they don't have the problem they think they have and then tells them there's another way to do it instead. It's not easy. I don't know. I don't have any advice in that realm. It's all just trial and error.
I think what you're saying too, and this goes from anybody, whether it's brick and mortar or online, is once you go from trainer to business person, if you become a gym owner or you start an online business, now you're in a business, right? Yeah. It's the rules there's a lot to do. I mean, bookkeeping alone, right? Screw that. That's source. That's awful. Right. But that's just one component of everything you have to worry about. Then you have to do marketing, you have to learn. So I don't know if it's necessarily online. I think it's making that leap from trainer to business person, which
that's true.
Be painful, But at the same time, can be incredibly rewarding. You have some new products out, or you have a new product out. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So this actually, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was to beta test my programs. And that way I'm like, I was able to be paid to create something with people, getting their feedback and everything, which was just awesome. So I've done that a lot. And this one, I finished the beta test of this program. It's called Authentic Body Confidence in the fall. Mm-hmm. And so this is my first public launch of it. So it starts February 19th. It's a 12-week online course. And I actually had to play with this idea of like, is it for women? Not exactly, but it's for anyone but men, but that seems like something I can't say. So I'm calling it like for women and non-binaries or for, femme identifying persons. Sure. But basically, it's for anybody who is looking to have a more positive relationship with their body and feeling really stuck. And I take them through all of this stuff, like what I just said. If you stay stuck in the body story, you're stuck there forever. You could talk about how you want to learn how to love your belly fat for literally the rest of your life. Right. Or you could dig way deeper and get to the stuff that actually matters, what's really holding you back. And so that's what this course is designed to do, to take people into themselves. And something I always tell them too is like, I'm not the expert on you, but I will help you become the expert on you. Like, this is a map back to you. This is not me as a coach being like, everyone has to do what I say, which again is a much more challenging model, I think, to sell, but way, way more aligned with what I know to be useful and real.
Yeah, I love it. I think when people listen to this too, I think there's gonna be a lot of fitness professionals who are gonna resonate with your message too, and probably have that inner, that voice saying like, maybe I should contact Jessi.
Please do. Honestly, I would love to talk to, because I consider fitness professionals to be like the ground floor of having these conversations with people. People trust them with their bodies and say, I think I should lose this. What do you think? And if the trainer says, I don't think that's a problem, they risk their job, but they also get to be in a position of helping that person change their view of their body. And so I think they're like the gatekeepers of this conversation up close and personal with people. And I would love to talk to more fitness professionals about this. And please reach out if anyone's interested in hearing that kind of thing.
And where do they find you, Jessi?
You can find me at my website is jessikneeland.com, and at Jessi Kneeland on Instagram and Jessi Kneeland on Facebook.
Awesome.
Oh, and Twitter. Yeah, it's all the same.
You're everywhere. You're omnipresent. I love it. I read your emails. I read your posts. I love the messaging. So just keep up the great work, and I appreciate your time coming on. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Jessi.
Bye.
Hey, fitness fans. Don't leave yet. This is Eric Malzone, your host, and I have an extremely special offer just for you. If you go to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/assessment, you can claim your complimentary digital marketing audit. Are you a modern fitness professional? Do you have some sort of online presence? Do you have a sneaking suspicion that your website is not performing optimally and therefore costing you money? Well, this is how you start to find out all the details. Just like fitness, you need to start with an honest and objective assessment. So go to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/assessment, fill out the form, and we will have it to you within 72 hours. It will cover your overall site performance, rank from 0 to 100, how you rank for your chosen keywords, so that's search engine optimization, your website traffic history over the last 6 months, so the ebbs and flows and what worked, what didn't, your website speed, which is highly relevant for people coming to your website and then bouncing off because it's working too slow, your social media presence, competitive analysis, and much, much more. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, but this is the starting point for building your online business. So please take advantage of it. We're offering it because we feel it's deeply important to you and the industry overall. And you can claim it by going to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/assessment. Do it today. Do it right now. Don't hesitate. This offer will last forever. So thank you for listening. Greatly appreciate it. If you ever need to reach me, hit me up, Eric at fitnessmarketingalliance.com, and I'll be talking to you very, very soon.